Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
All right, welcome back, everybody. There's a word that when you say it, it conjures up certain images, and those images probably aren't completely accurate. The word is voodoo. You think of one thing, the voodoo doll, but that's not what it's all about. And we're going to learn about that, a little bit of New Orleans culture, and so much more from a priestess who is live and direct from that area. And she's also the woman behind a voodoo spiritual temple, where she is right now. Priestess Miriam joins us here again on the program. How are you?
Oh, I'm great and having a good time here in New Orleans with the weather.
Yeah, a little cold snap by you, right?
Yeah, getting in our winter weather clothing. It's like,
Mm.
what would be life if we didn't have a little chill?
Honey, you got temps in the 50s, but you still see palm trees. So I'd be good with that.
And we got bright sunshine.
Oh yeah. Oh
You
yeah.
know,
That's a good point. Even when
yeah,
it's chilly, the sun just makes it feel warmer, right?
yeah. The songwriter said, when it's cold outside, you got the month of May. I
Oh,
guess to say, what can make me
me
feel
feel
this
this way,
way?
my girl.
My girl, my girl.
Well, we
Okay.
got to change it, make it the month of December. But anyway,
Oh,
um,
okay.
well, you're our girl here today, and I want to get into what voodoo means. But before we even do that, I want to confirm or dispel the notion that somebody can have a voodoo doll and stick pins in it, and potentially the other person can feel that spell. Is that at all real?
Well, uh, it's not a songwriter. It is real. Oh, anyway. So there's just words can be defined in so many different ways, and especially the word voodoo. It's like when I speak about it, then I think about the dolls, and I think about the creation of life, or how God must has thought, if I'm going to make these dolls to be the mind character to construct the wellness on earth, I got to put some type of stimulation in them. So, and then I think about the nervous system, and that that is like, wow, and the veins and everything that is in the dolls that can help stimulate action within it. And so, and then I don't want to go just how people are looking at it as a voodoo religion, but what is it as a inspirational character that can activate some creative values within the soul of the person, or within the environment that we live in.
Hmm.
And so then if the word voodoo can bring about creative ideas or some creative essence of inspirational character to character, then his work is great. But it's how people will look to seduce it to maybe be an effective tool to dissimulate something or dissimulate a person's mind or emotion. And so it's like, well, dag, how do we come to terms with this word voodoo?
Hmm.
And I think we had talked earlier, and then the word is voodoo or voodoo. And according to African priests that visit in 95 from Benin, Benin, he says voodoo is God, and God finds you. Oh my
Wow.
God, my phone will ring. I hope you don't hear my phone.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
Maybe that's God
Oh,
calling. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. It's behind I don't know why I'm gonna.
I honestly don't. I don't hear it. But
Oh, okay.
I never knew that that
No,
what
okay.
that
So,
was connected to God, voodoo.
well, it's how people have never got to that degree. And Dogbo, who known is from Benin and has the Voodoo temple. He has the temple of the Python. And it's like the rhythm as he met with Pope John um, and back in the 90s. And he and Pope John had a good conversation about the concept of each religious structure and how he defined it as being a monumental tool of God to expand people's minds and emotion to be more sufficient with itself or to work a dynamic to improve their environmental structure they live in and bring about wholesome attitudes that can support their character as well as other people's character to be able to make some grand step of security for themselves. Now, that would make great sense in a real sense if people look at the principles, character of African peoples, since this is where the word seems to have come from. And it's like, well, dang, then you have to look that the African people had a sentimental order of character and reflection and creative views to be productive and orientate great factors to make growth and progress for themselves. And so if the word to the African people mean that I find strength within myself, I find strength within my soul, and the God principle within me can unfold many mysteries and ideas that I can be self-supporting within the environment where I'm at and to expand beyond it. And yet there's always going to be some circumstance that is not going to fortify the piece or the argument of a discipline to make it look so favorable and reflect favorability all the time. And that makes that you have the opposite of that to repel it to come favorable. And so it's like now we come back where the girls now we can get Botox to make our face anyway, to work out some lines that we don't feel good, right? And so we have to get stuck with a needle to, but anyway. So if we are looking at ourselves as being these dolls and the dolls that the creator designed out of the clay, and if it had just been rigid with the clay and no action in it, right?
Well, we all have choices.
So,
And
but that's how we are now because we have developed a vocabulary system that can defend us to decide, well, yeah, we all have choices. But at the beginning of any time period before that, we had to go with the science of acts or action or the energy that influenced us to use our stimulated device to bring action. So then you're still going, we're talking about the God absent or the God present, long before we became present. If we look at ourselves as the first voodoo dolls. And so how if you collect matter and you put matter in some formation and there's no action in it. And it's like it is when we have a person who get paralyzed and one of their limbs it has no action, and you're going to find a way to stimulate the nerves. And so, and therefore, when we like, wow, and so when we can have action in our body or a science that can pinch or to activate the nervous system. But when it got low in energy, then we have again our person who studied the nervous system and how to bring about a stimulant needle to activate or try to bring some action into that. But since we're talking about voodoo in a different sense.
Hmm.
I like to go off the deep end to bring people's mind in a broad spectrum of that, what this thing could be. That's what I like to do. I like to rally.
Well,
But
this is your life, and this is and your upbringing. I want to ask your opinion on karma. The word karma. It's always, again, like voodoo. It's viewed as a negative thing, but there can be good karma, or that's what some believe. What are your beliefs on karma?
I believe that something have to be in the opposite of a discipline that prove that if I'm going to go down that road so assurance and and callous, then the road is not going to always meet me where I feel so assured.
Mm.
And then it tricks me. I'm like, well, Jack, that wasn't what I was thinking, or how I went down there. I had over expected everything to receive me as I went.
Mm.
There's something that's gonna baffle you and throw you different. And so we do say, well, you met your karma, you met something that make you take a different approach to and how you reflect to the environment of other peoples or whatever. And and so it can be a tricky deal when we say, oh, you met your karma. It's like, well, dang, you met your self and different than what you thought you had it all wrapped up to be. And then it's how you relate to the experience that appeared that it brought on a different reflected. It made you feel like broken, or maybe it threw you in a health condition. But if your mind is more stronger beyond that karma, that thing that come up on you, you can pull yourself forward and advance more enrichly than what it seems that it brought a downfall, or you fell in a downward spiral and somebody named you met your karma. But this downward spiral doesn't have to be such that it limits you from taking a step beyond it and come out more victoriously than what it seems that you went down and you had some losses, or you fell in your own poop, we would say. And so, and so when you fall in your own poop, it's better that if you waller in it long time, but if you don't stay there and waller in it, then you can get up and do something greater, right?
Well, let me ask you this.
Okay, I don't know if that makes sense.
Do you do you feel that if somebody does something, let's say they do something that's just not right, hurt other
Yeah.
people, and they know it's not right, not a mistake, it's an intentional thing. Do you feel that they will have to deal with the repercussions of that coming back as karma?
Well, I think everybody meets their own deeds from time to time, and but it's how it is. But if someone wait to see you fall into it from their imagination that you would meet it, maybe that person would meet the worst trying to see that the other person fall in his worst. So if you have any visual imagination that the person can reap a negative or his karma, it's better that that individual don't sit there to wait to see that person fall.
Mm.
It's like you got all that time to wait to see another person fall. Maybe you're in your worst, you can be in your worst dimension of chaos than the one you think is going to meet his chaos. It's who throws the bone. Somebody throws a bone at a person and tell them. And if that hits that person emotion and make him feel, it's like when somebody say something to a person, they say, "Ooh," and you go down there, and so if it hit that mind of the person and he get paranoid about himself, what the person said about him, maybe he didn't meet his own karma, but maybe he got so paranoid what somebody else said about him that he really fell in a downward spiral. You know, people can throw suggestion at you, and if you let it work on your mind and your nervous system, you're going to find yourself weak. And then you keep saying, I think this is where people say in Voodoo, I think somebody put a spell on me, you know?
Hmm.
And they walk around with the suggestion of that person that you're going to meet something, you're going to fall in your own poop, or there's going to be something that's going to, uh, uh, come upon you. And some people's attain that in their mind about what the other person said, that they swear that that person put a spell on them. And then everything happened in their life that didn't go right, they continue to say, oh, it's because that person put a spell on me. And so some people wear a shield of somebody else's thought, and they will always feel that somebody else has more control over them than they can have control over themselves. And that can be somewhat, when we look at the karma, a person use another person's suggestion and he become more bewildered than what he would if he hadn't been under that suggestion. Have you ever experienced that one?
That somebody, give me the last part again.
I said some people throw suggestions. It's like if you go down that road, that ghost's gonna come out at you. And if a person get paranoid and every time he go down the road,
Yep.
he gonna be thinking, oh, the ghosts. and
Yes.
and and so he's like, oh, like people come to New Orleans. It's like, oh, they said that voodoo people do this too. And they always putting spells on you. There are some people, when they get past the voodoo temple or the voodoo place, they go to the other side of the street, or they'll go quickly past. Huh?
I, I'm I know what you're talking about, Miriam. It's almost as if you're planting a seed in somebody's mind. Like you could tell somebody, now let's say they're trying to get a new job. And if you were, and it's not a nice thing, but I'm just giving an example. If you were to say
Yeah,
somebody, you're not going to get that job. Good luck with that job interview. You're not going to get that. I'm telling you right now, it's
yeah,
not going to
yeah,
happen for you. Well, the person going for the job interview, now they believe that they're not going to get it. So they probably not going to do a great job at the job interview because they have that notion already in their mind.
yeah. It's like some of my clients come and they say, well, I want to do, oh, but every time I do something, it doesn't come out. I said, be cool, take a moment and stop laboring everything you do, and what you're looking to attain now
Mm,
may not come out right because they have stationary that in their mind so secure
yep.
that everything they go out to do, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
People can paralyze their own senses,
Yep.
and that they will always look for the worst before they see the good.
Absolutely. And it goes back to what my mom used to say, be careful what you ask for. Be careful what you ask for because you're asking for it. If you're even saying to yourself, I'm not going to do well at that thing. That I'm not going to do well in that job interview. I just know it. I don't think I'm qualified for that job.
Uh,
They may have picked you, to
Rather than going in, sit down, apply without any notion that maybe,
mhm.
or and the client says, oh, but I've been working on this job so long. Every time and they don't, I never get what? I never get elevation.
Mhm.
But it's how you sit and waiting for somebody to elevate you, but what it is that you apply freely, that you're not waiting for somebody to elevate. You have to see how to elevate yourself
Yep.
into an industry with confidence, not waiting for somebody to prize you because you took one step and you sit there and waited that step was so great that somebody should have gave you a bigger step. but
Yep.
it but somebody else come into the job market and they work. Well, every time I turn, they come in and they get the next position Well, what were you doing all the time? But anyway, so all of these things is when people, my clients, different clients come to me with different thought concepts like that. And so you have to work the opposite of a thought to them so they can stop condemning themselves and see that they can rise. And whether you get a position at that job, maybe you have greater intention to do something constructively to improve your own self-status. And maybe you'll develop your own small business rather than waiting to see it all going to come out of this one institution. So we
Hmm.
have those kinds of minds every day waiting to see how big they're going to get in this institution, but how you can organize yourself from that institution and build your own little private ideas and investment. So
Mm.
your work is in, and you can also improve yourself out, but not condemning the institution that it has not prized you well.
Well, yes. A lot of us like to, this is a really great point. A lot of us like to take the role as a victim, but it's really on us. Things can happen to us, they will happen. That's called life. But how you react to it is your choice. But many of us put the blame
Yeah.
on others. Look what happened to me. All
Oh,
right.
yeah. My mother wasn't there for me. There are many people saying, well, my mom, and I have a way to, well, mom was a child, a baby before you became her baby. And sometimes you only take the top, mother, but you don't see the full order of the female that you prize as your mother.
Mm,
And so I tell my friends, see your mom, see the lady before she became a mother to your imagination. And that lady, that man had something more in tune in his mind or her mind that she wanted to accomplish before you labored her just as your mother. So,
mm.
so it is like see the whole state of that individual. I like to say that now we're going into a holiday, whatever. That many people only see the labor of the person
Yeah.
that give birth to us. But if you see the whole of that person, more than the labor that we say when we come out the uterus, oh, that's the mother. It's like she doesn't see you. Oh, of course, you're a baby, but you're going to grow to be an adult. And you're going to have to be able to take some steps for yourself beyond the foundation of that household or the mother you came through. And so, but we get tangled up and we think, well, this science of mother should have been so fortified in every way we thought she should have been that we can hold her accountable. We can make her guilty of not doing what we thought she should have done. So I
Words
like
of
to say that to a
spiritual
lot.
wisdom, words of spiritual wisdom coming from Priestess Miriam. We are out of time. As
Oh,
always, it
that's
just kind of
true.
flies on by. Your website, a lot of insight and also products there that can help you navigate a lot of this. Interesting stuff we talked about last time. Look back on that. VoodooSpiritualTemple.org is the website. And Priestess, thank you very much for
Oh
being
my
here today.
goodness. It's such a pleasure. And I enjoy this time because what I've had in my soul that I wanted to say to a big, broad mind of people is coming
Yes.
out through you. And I'm so grateful for this and so
Well, I
honored.
I appreciate that
Yeah,
and your insight and uh all the best to you all down there in New Orleans and hoping to get there someday soon.
yeah, come on down
I'll look for the green door.
and
I'll look
we'll
for the
go
green door.
party.
Yes. All right, we'll catch
Dancing
up
in the
soon.
street.
We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, I mean, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.